Distance learning has been hard for students, but for kids with special education needs, it takes a different toll. Federal law requires school districts to provide services such as occupational therapy. Our national investigative team finds that some are unable to meet those standards. Here's Investigate TV's Lee Zurich with our COVID-19 tracker.
It's pretty overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. So, we've been through a lot as a family.
Homeschooling first grader Bennett Pellegrino requires 4 hands. Born with cerebral palsy and legally blind, Bennett's special education instruction includes physical, occupational, and speech therapy. While school is shut down during the COVID-19 pandemic, it's all done by his parents, who both work full-time.
I'm in a very challenging position trying to provide everything that my child needs. There are days that I just sit in my car and cry because I'm just not enough for him. My husband is not enough for him. Even together, we cannot do everything that he needs, and it can be very discouraging.
While the federal government typically enforces standards for special education students through federal law, remote learning for these students has been left up to school districts and states. We contacted 25 states and nearly 200 school districts to find out what guidance they were providing schools. That survey reveals the special education services students receive depend on where they live, which means states' approach to servicing special needs varies.
It is a big mess.
Val Antunes Cook is a school psychologist in Illinois. She says the pandemic has left some students behind with their services not meeting the standards required by federal law.
We have a few kiddos who are profoundly deaf and their families don't know sign, so they get no communication input, and it just hurts.
With the U.S. Department of Education issuing vague guidance, it's up to the states and school districts to follow a strict federal law. That's not physically possible.
Schools are in a very challenging position because they're being asked to provide something that right now is physically unsafe to do in person. And the lack of guidance that they have from the federal and state level, I think, is what's really impeding districts' ability to ensure that they can do what they need to do for their students. I just don't think they were prepared.
Are you worried your son's going to regress?
I know he's regressing. So he's not as flexible as he was. So we're having to really stretch him in some really interesting ways. He walks in a gait trainer every day and he's not walking nearly as far as he typically does.
According to our experts that our team talked to, schools will have to evaluate how to make up for lost services for each student individually when in-school learning resumes. The home improvement sector became a bright spot in an industry hit hard by the pandemic. One retailer that benefited up next.